Stop. If your day starts with 7 tabs, 3 note apps, a calendar you do not trust, and a task list that keeps getting longer, you do not need another productivity app. You need a personal AI chief of staff. By the end of this video, we are going to turn a messy workday into a simple command center that tells you what matters today, what can wait, what is blocked, and what your next 3 moves should be. I am not going to pretend that AI can live your life for you. That is the trap. The useful version is much better. AI becomes the organizer, the drafter, the reminder, and the second brain, while you stay the decision maker. Here is the promise. We will build a daily workflow you can copy today. It will take raw inputs from your calendar, notes, inbox, project list, and random ideas. It will sort them into priorities, risks, follow-ups, and a clean plan. Then we will test it with a realistic chaotic day and fix the weak points. If you want the next build in this series, stay to the end, because I will show you the exact follow-up workflow that turns this daily brief into a weekly operating system. The reason most people feel behind is not that they are lazy. It is that their work is fragmented. One deadline is in a calendar invite. One decision is buried inside a meeting note. One idea is in a phone note. One urgent request is in an email thread. One important project lives only in your head. Every morning, your brain has to become the search engine, the project manager, the assistant, and the quality control system at the same time. That is expensive. It burns attention before the day even starts. So the personal AI chief of staff has one job: gather the important signals and turn them into a plan you can act on. Not a motivational quote. Not a giant list. Not a fantasy schedule. A realistic plan. We are going to build the system around 5 inputs. First, today's calendar. Second, open tasks. Third, recent notes. Fourth, pending messages or follow-ups. Fifth, your current goals. Then we will ask AI to produce 5 outputs: a daily brief, a priority list, a risk list, a communication list, and a shutdown checklist. Those 5 outputs are the difference between reacting all day and operating with intention. Before we build anything, we need one rule. A useful AI workflow is not a clever sentence. It has 4 parts: inputs, rules, examples, and review. The input tells the assistant what it is allowed to use. The rules tell it how to make decisions. The example shows the format you expect. The review step protects you from confident nonsense. This is why one-line prompts feel impressive for 10 seconds and useless 5 minutes later. They produce text, but they do not produce a reliable workflow. For our chief of staff, the rules are simple. It must separate urgent from important. It must never create fake commitments. It must mark uncertainty instead of hiding it. It must give no more than 3 primary priorities. It must identify messages that need a reply. It must tell you what not to do today. And it must end with a question if the input is missing something important. That last rule matters. A strong assistant does not pretend to know. It asks better questions. If your calendar says client call but your notes do not say what the call is about, the assistant should flag it. If your task says launch page but there is no deadline, the assistant should ask for one. This is how you turn AI from a text generator into a practical operator. Step 1 is the daily intake template. You can put this in Notion, Google Docs, a text file, or any notes app. The tool matters less than the structure. Create 5 sections. Section 1 is calendar. Paste today's meetings, calls, deadlines, and hard commitments. Section 2 is open projects. List the projects that are active right now, not every dream you have ever had. Section 3 is waiting on. This is where you put people, approvals, files, payments, or decisions that are blocking progress. Section 4 is notes. Paste messy notes, meeting summaries, or random thoughts from yesterday. Section 5 is goals. Put the 1 to 3 outcomes that actually matter this week. Now add one line at the top: today is successful if blank. This line forces you to define the day before the assistant organizes it. Without that line, AI will optimize for busyness. With that line, it can optimize for the outcome. Here is the first subtle win. The template makes you honest. If you cannot fill the intake in 3 minutes, your system is too scattered. If you can fill it, the assistant can start producing useful work immediately. Now we give the assistant its job description. Use this structure. You are my personal AI chief of staff. Your job is to turn my daily intake into a realistic execution plan. Use only the information I provide. Do not invent missing details. If something is uncertain, mark it as uncertain. First, write a 1-paragraph daily brief. Second, choose my top 3 priorities and explain why each one matters. Third, list risks, blockers, and decisions I need to make. Fourth, draft any follow-up messages I should send today. Fifth, tell me what to ignore or postpone. Sixth, end with a shutdown checklist for the end of the day. Then paste your daily intake underneath it. The important part is not the wording. The important part is the decision logic. We are asking the assistant to reduce chaos, not create more words. Here is the quality test. If the output gives you 12 priorities, it failed. If it ignores calendar constraints, it failed. If it creates tasks that were not in the input, it failed. If it helps you start the first important task within 5 minutes, it worked. Let's test the system with a realistic day. Imagine this intake. Calendar, client strategy call at 11, dentist at 3, and a project deadline tomorrow. Open projects, finish the AI workflow video, send a sponsor pitch, update the client dashboard, and clean up the lead list. Waiting on client approval for the report, payment confirmation from last week, and feedback from a collaborator. Notes: yesterday's meeting said the client cares most about speed, not fancy design. There is also a random note that says the intro feels boring. Weekly goals: publish 2 videos, close 1 sponsor conversation, and ship the client dashboard. A weak assistant would rewrite this as a motivational task list. A useful chief of staff should see constraints. The client call matters because it can unblock the dashboard. The video matters because it supports the publishing goal. The sponsor pitch matters, but only if it does not steal the best energy from the deadline. The dentist appointment cuts the afternoon. The boring intro note is not random, it is a risk to retention. The output should say something like this. Priority 1, prepare for the client call and ask for the report approval, because it unblocks tomorrow's deadline. Priority 2, fix the video intro before editing anything else, because a weak opening damages the whole video. Priority 3, send a short sponsor follow-up only after the client call prep is done. Postpone the lead list cleanup. Ignore new tool research today. That is the moment the workflow becomes useful. It does not just list work. It creates trade-offs. The most valuable line in the entire output may be the line that tells you what not to do. Most people use AI to generate more ideas, more tasks, more options, more content, more projects. But a chief of staff should protect focus. Every morning, ask for a do not do list. Do not research new tools today. Do not rewrite the entire strategy because one metric looked bad. Do not open email before the client call prep is complete. Do not turn a 5-minute follow-up into a 40-minute redesign. Do not chase a new idea before closing the open loop that is already costing attention. This is where the assistant becomes a mirror. It helps you spot the patterns that feel productive but keep you stuck. Research can be procrastination. Redesign can be avoidance. Planning can be a way to delay the uncomfortable first task. A good daily brief names that. If you only copy one thing from this video, copy this line: tell me what to ignore today and why. That single line makes the workflow 10 times more useful. Now we need a review step. Never let an assistant's output move directly into your day without checking it. Use 5 questions. Question 1: did it invent anything? If yes, remove it. Question 2: did it respect the calendar? If it gives you 6 hours of work in a 2-hour window, fix it. Question 3: did it limit priorities to 3? If not, force a trade-off. Question 4: did it flag uncertainty? If it sounds too confident about missing context, ask it to mark assumptions. Question 5: does the plan make the next action obvious? If you still do not know what to do first, ask for a 1-hour starter plan. This review takes less than 1 minute. It is the difference between useful automation and passive acceptance. The goal is not to obey the AI. The goal is to use it as a thinking partner that reduces the cost of organizing your own work. You should also keep a correction log. When the assistant gets something wrong, write the correction into your rules. For example, never schedule deep work right after back-to-back calls. Always put client deadlines above internal admin. Always ask before moving creative work to the evening. Over time, your chief of staff becomes more aligned because your rules get better. Once the brief looks right, ask for a day plan. But keep it simple. I like 4 blocks. Block 1 is the focus block. This is the task that creates the most leverage if it gets done before the day becomes noisy. Block 2 is communication. This is where you send replies, follow-ups, approvals, and clarifying questions. Block 3 is admin. This is the cleanup work that matters but should not steal your best energy. Block 4 is shutdown. This is the review that prevents tomorrow from starting with yesterday's confusion. Here is the exact follow-up prompt. Convert this brief into a realistic day plan. Use my calendar as hard constraints. Give me 1 focus block, 1 communication block, 1 admin block, and 1 shutdown review. For each block, give the first visible action and the definition of done. Notice the words visible action. Not work on dashboard. Instead, open dashboard file, review missing metrics, and write the 3 changes needed before sending to client. Visible action removes friction. When the next step is concrete, you start faster. This is also where the assistant can draft messages. If you need approval, ask it for a short message. If you need to push a deadline, ask for a clear and respectful note. If you need to follow up on payment, ask for a firm but professional draft. The chief of staff does not just tell you to communicate. It helps you do it. Here is the mistake that breaks AI workflows early: people try to connect everything on day 1. Calendar, email, notes, project management, customer messages, spreadsheets, automations, agents, and notifications. It sounds powerful, but it usually creates a fragile system you do not understand. Start manual. Copy your inputs into the daily intake for 1 week. If the output helps, then automate the boring transfer steps. Maybe your calendar gets pasted automatically. Maybe meeting notes land in the intake. Maybe tasks from a specific project board get summarized. But do not automate before the workflow is proven. The best automation sequence is this. First, prove the manual workflow. Second, identify the repeated input that costs time. Third, automate that input only. Fourth, keep a human review before anything is sent, deleted, published, or scheduled. Fifth, measure whether it actually saved time. This keeps the system safe. A personal chief of staff should not send messages without approval. It should not reschedule your calendar without review. It should not mark tasks complete because it guessed. The job is to reduce friction while keeping you in control. Here is the full template in plain language. You are my personal AI chief of staff. Use only the information I provide. Do not invent facts, deadlines, or commitments. If details are missing, mark them as uncertain and ask a question. My goal is to make today realistic and focused. First, write a concise daily brief. Second, choose my top 3 priorities and explain the trade-off behind each one. Third, list risks, blockers, and decisions. Fourth, draft short follow-up messages I should send today. Fifth, tell me what to ignore or postpone. Sixth, turn the plan into one focus block, one communication block, one admin block, and one shutdown review. For each block, give the first visible action and definition of done. End with one question that would improve tomorrow's planning. Then paste your daily intake. Calendar, open projects, waiting on, notes, weekly goals, and the sentence, today is successful if blank. This template is not perfect. It is a starting point. The real improvement comes from your correction log. Every time the assistant gives a plan that is too ambitious, add a rule. Every time it misses a recurring commitment, add a line to the intake. Every time it drafts a message in a voice you would never use, add a brand or tone rule. Here is the 7-day test. On day 1, use the template manually. Do not automate anything. On day 2, compare the plan to what actually happened. Where was it unrealistic? On day 3, add correction rules. On day 4, ask the assistant to produce a better morning brief using those rules. On day 5, automate one input if it is clearly repetitive. On day 6, test whether the automation actually saves time. On day 7, review the whole system. The question is not did the AI sound smart? The question is did you start the right work faster? Did you send follow-ups sooner? Did you avoid at least one low-leverage distraction? Did your shutdown review make tomorrow easier? Did you feel less scattered? If the answer is yes, keep it. If the answer is no, do not blame yourself and do not keep adding tools. Fix the input. Most weak AI workflows are weak because the inputs are vague. Better input creates better judgment. Now you have the first layer, a daily AI chief of staff. It gathers the mess, names the priorities, drafts the follow-ups, warns you about risks, and gives you a shutdown checklist. The next layer is the weekly operating system. That is where we take 5 daily briefs, find repeated blockers, identify the work that actually moved results, and plan the next week with better judgment. This is where AI becomes more than a morning helper. It becomes a system for noticing patterns in your own work. If this video helped, subscribe now, because the next build connects the daily brief to a weekly review and a project dashboard. Also leave a comment with the one workflow you want me to build next: email, calendar, content, sales, research, or analytics. I read those comments and use them to choose the next builds. And before you leave, watch the next video on screen. It shows the 7 AI workflows that can save 10 hours a week when they are built correctly. Start there if you want the full stack, not just one prompt. One final practical note. The quality of this system depends on honesty. If you paste a fake perfect task list into the intake, the assistant will create a fake perfect day. If you paste the real mess, it can help you make better trade-offs. That is why this workflow is useful for creators, freelancers, managers, and small business owners. It does not require a complicated tool stack. It requires a consistent input, a clear decision rule, and a short review. If you want to make this more advanced later, add 3 fields to the intake: energy level, available focus time, and one thing that would make the day a win. Energy level prevents the plan from pretending you are a machine. Available focus time prevents impossible schedules. The win condition keeps the plan tied to an outcome instead of a pile of activity. When you use this for a week, look for the repeated blocker. Maybe your meetings create too many loose ends. Maybe your content ideas are strong but never become outlines. Maybe your follow-ups are always late. Maybe your admin work steals the morning. That repeated blocker tells you what AI workflow to build next.